Where's the rest of our cattle?
Forgiveness isn't asked for when everything is calm. It rises in the middle of a storm when hearts are confused and memories still burn. As the season reaches its final hour, the consequences of Wes Kellstrom's actions are still fresh and painful. Jack, still bruised in body and pride, relives that night in flashes, Wes standing over him, the rage, the fear, the betrayal that tasted like dust and blood. Jack has always been the protector, the backbone, the one who absorbs the damage so others don't. But this time, the wound is deeper than the bruise on his temple. It's the violation of legacy, the ranch, the history, the family. Lou has barely slept since, pacing the living room, phone in her hand, never dialing, but never putting it down either. Something changed in her that night, a fear she hasn't felt since losing people she loved, the fear of almost losing Jack, the fear of history repeating itself, and beneath that fear is anger, cold, silent, simmering. She wants accountability. She wants justice. She wants Wes Kellstrom in handcuffs, not standing beneath the same sky they live under. Nathan tries to stay composed, more rational, more distant, but even he feels it. The pressure, the unspoken conversation, the fact that his involvement now ties him to Heartland in ways he never expected. The kiss with Amy may have been real, honest, gentle, but this isn't a world built on just moments. It's built on history, on pain, on memories of people gone but never forgotten. Amy stands in a quiet war of her own. Gracie's confession, Marion's journal, and the tangled roots of the past now crowd her mind. Gracie's remorse was real, the kind that shakes the voice and pulls shadows from the eyes, but remorse doesn't erase the mistake. It only opens a door for forgiveness to walk through. And Amy, as much as she helps others heal, struggles to decide if she's ready to offer that chance. Inside the barn, late evening air clings heavy with silence. Amy runs her hand over Spartan's mane. Older now, wiser, his presence steady. Spartan has survived fire, fear, distance, and uncertainty. Yet here he stands, calm, trusting, unchanged by the storm outside these walls. Maybe forgiveness starts like that, quiet, patient, steady. But Amy knows forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgiveness is remembering without letting the memory control the future. And then comes the unexpected news. Wes Kellstrom isn't fighting. He isn't threatening. He isn't running. He's asking to talk, asking to explain, asking for something Heartland never gives without cost. Redemption. Jack refuses at first. The word no comes sharp, immediate, instinctive. But Lou hears something in his voice, a tremor, a hesitation. Amy sees it too. They realize that Jack's anger isn't just toward Wes, it's toward himself, for letting his guard down, for believing he could handle it alone, for being reminded that age takes strength before it takes anything else. And Amy, the one who understands wounds better than most, feels something shift, an invisible turning point. She isn't ready to forgive Gracie. Jack isn't ready to forgive Wes. And Heartland isn't ready to breathe again. But forgiveness isn't a destination. It's a decision that changes the air the moment it is spoken. As the finale unfolds, that decision, made by someone unexpected, will change the family dynamic forever. Because forgiveness in Heartland isn't weakness. It's the bravest thing they can offer, and the most dangerous thing they can accept. Morning arrives without warmth. the sun climbs, but the ranch feels cold, like the light isn't strong enough to touch the wounds that linger. Jack is awake before anyone else, sitting at the old kitchen table with coffee gone cold in his hands. He stares at the steamless cup as if answers might rise from the silence around it. The ranch has always been his responsibility, not by choice, but by blood, by legacy, by love. And now, the man who threatened that legacy wants a conversation. Lou enters quietly, expecting Jack to snap like he usually does when his thoughts are loud enough to break glass. But instead, she finds him still, too still. There's no anger in his eyes, just something heavier. Regret, maybe. A fear that comes only when a leader starts to wonder if he's failed the people dependent on him. Lou sits. No words at first. Heartland has never been a place where every battle is fought with shouting. Sometimes the real fights happen in the silence between breaths. Lou finally speaks, voice steady but gentle. If you talk to him, it doesn't mean you forgive him. Jack doesn't look up, but the muscle in his jaw twitches. He hates that she's right, hates that she knows his weakness better than he does. Because deep down, what scares Jack most is not facing Wes, but facing his own limitations. When he was younger, he chased problems with fists and fury. But this time isn't about strength. It's about choices, about consequences, about the past clawing its way into the present. Meanwhile, Amy grapples with her own past quietly. Gracie has asked to speak with her again, but Amy hasn't answered. She rereads the journal's faded ink, Marion's words echoing with honesty and heartbreak. A truth that unfolded decades ago, but still burns today. Amy wonders why the past has such power over the future. Why forgiveness feels like opening a door she isn't sure she can close again. Nathan approaches the barn where Amy hides her thoughts in silent tasks. Sweeping, organizing, anything that keeps her hands busy while her heart struggles to stay still. He asks her if she's okay. She shrugs. Amy Fleming doesn't crumble. She bends like the branch in the storm, but never breaks. Still, Nathan sees the conflict behind her eyes. Gracie betrayed trust. Not maliciously, but with consequences that changed everything. Nathan tells her, forgiveness isn't for them, it's for you. Amy flinches, not because the words hurt, but because they're true. Too true. Forgiveness means releasing the grip the past has on your present. And Amy isn't sure she's ready for that release. Not yet. Meanwhile, the community whispers louder than the wind. Word of Wes spreads through town like wildfire. Some want justice. Some want revenge. Some want closure. And others, quiet voices in the back corners of cafes, ask the question nobody wants to say out loud. What if Wes is telling the truth? What if there's more to this story than anyone knows? Because whispers have a way of turning into doubts. And doubts are seeds, planted quietly, growing slowly, suddenly becoming too big to ignore. Lou isn't interested in doubt, not when it comes to her family. But even she feels a shift when the sheriff arrives with news. Wes is not only asking for a conversation, he has something to offer. Something that could change everything. Something that might expose a new threat Heartland never saw coming. The possibility twists the emotional knife deeper. Because forgiveness becomes harder when the truth might be more complicated than the pain. When the enemy might not be the monster they believed. And when the real danger might be someone else entirely. The Heartland finale begins revealing something crucial. Sometimes forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about preparing for what's coming next. The afternoon sun drapes long shadows across the Heartland ranch, painting the barn and the paddocks in gold. But the warmth doesn't reach inside the hearts of those living through the aftermath. Every footstep, every creak of a gate, carries weight now. Nothing is ordinary. Nothing is safe. Because trust, once broken, refuses to slip quietly back into place. Jack finally faces Wes Kellstrom. Not in anger, not in accusation, but in the measured quiet that comes from decades of protecting the people you love. Wes stands there, older, wearier, a man who once embodied pure chaos, yet something in him now hints at a reckoning he can't escape. He doesn't deny the past. He doesn't soften the harm he's caused. But for the first time, he speaks differently. Words aren't threats. They aren't excuses. They are fragments of remorse, pieces of understanding that haven't yet formed a full apology. And that is enough to unearth emotions Jack didn't think he still carried. Hesitation, confusion, fear of letting his own anger dictate the next move. Meanwhile, Amy and Gracie sit in the sunroom, the air thick with unsaid words. Gracie's voice trembles, not from fear, but from the enormity of admitting fault to someone who has always held her accountable. "I never meant to hurt you," she says, her tone raw, fragile. I didn't see the consequences until it was too late." Amy listens, the words settling like dust in her mind. Forgiveness is a storm she's weathered before, yet every time feels different. It isn't an immediate flood, it's a slow, creeping tide, testing the edges of patience, empathy, and courage. Nathan lingers nearby, watching, silently hoping that Amy will find the balance between empathy and protection. He's aware of the delicate tension that exists between helping someone heal and risking being hurt again. He knows that every choice carries weight, not just for the individuals involved, but for the entire Heartland family. One misstep, one wrong word, and the delicate web of relationships could unravel, leaving scars that run deeper than anyone expects. Lou, meanwhile, confronts her own shadows. She walks the pasture, eyes scanning the horizon, hands brushing against the fence like she's holding on to something intangible. The stakes have never been higher for her either. The safety of the ranch, the future of her family, and the fragile trust she's worked to maintain now hang in the balance, and in that quiet moment, Lou recognizes a truth she has long avoided. Forgiveness is not a gift to the wrongdoer. It is a shield for the giver.